The Battle of Alberta wrapped up for another season, and surprisingly, it goes the way of the Flames as Calgary picked up a win on home ice that I think says a lot more about the visitors than it does the home side, but also a lot of news coming out of this one for Calgary as well. So let's talk about it. All right. So the Calgary Flames and Edmonton Oilers facing off in the Battle of Alberta. And there's a lot of news coming out of this. We'll start with the actual hockey game itself. I think this shows, again, the problems that Edmonton has. And it's not breaking news. It's not any of that. This was a quintessential Edmonton game. They started off really hot on the power play. You can see the high level of offensive skill that this team possesses, but then a couple of goals that shouldn't beat your goalie and a couple of lapses and turnovers that shouldn't happen lead to chances against the goalie who's not stopping the easy ones anyway, and you end up losing to one of the worst teams in the NHL. And you're giving up rush chances to one of the slowest teams in the NHL, and you're giving up 4 goals to one of the lowest scoring teams in the NHL. So I think there's a problem here, Edmonton. Again, you got the full Evan Bouchard experience. He takes a penalty very early on in the game that allows the Flames to get that momentum, get the goal, and get going really effectively. Yeah, Toxic, you could argue all 4 goals could have been... Yeah, like, I think the Lomberg one where it bounces to him and he has to kick it out, like, it's not great rebound control, but it's a weirdly bouncing puck. I put that one more on the defense, not being able to somehow stymie the electric offense ability of Ryan Lomberg in front. But yeah, like the rest of them, like Griding's got a good shot, but that should have got that one. Definitely should have got that one. The deflection one is a little bit difficult, but still, like, you're allowed to save those too. And then the first one was that was a bad one. You can't be letting that shot in at that time. So yeah, like it wasn't a great night for Tristan Jarry. And again, it wasn't a good night for Evan Bouchard. Like I said, you got the full Bouch experience where he takes the penalty early on, leads to a goal that should have been stopped. You get the turnover in the neutral zone that leads to, I think it was Zari, not Farabee, one of them had a really good chance off of the puck that just kind of bounced between his legs that he was very just blah on, and that leads to an opportunity on your goalie. But then, to help set up a really good chance, he has a forechecker all over him and makes a perfect outlet pass to set up a 2-on-1 shorthanded for his team that led to a tense scoring opportunity after Weegar came back and broke it up, but the deflection caused some issues for Cooley. So you see the full Bouchard experience there. And like I said, it's the full Edmonton experience where, yeah, they look good at different times, but defensively, like I don't know how you let Matvei Gridin behind you on that 2-0 goal. 2-1 goal, sorry. That second Flames goal. I don't know how you let him behind you on that. Like, the defense is creeping up into the neutral zone, and I get they are attack. But this is the penalty kill. Like, if you park yourself-ish at the blue line, they literally can't get behind you. It's the rules. So to lose where you are in the zone and then not be ready to cover a pass over on the outside anyway is it's horrendous by them. And like Weegar makes a really good pass, Griding makes a really good shot, but none of that should have been available. Either A, the pass shouldn't have been able to be made if you are going to creep up in the neutral zone in that way. Like, fine, but you have to stop it from getting behind you. Okay, we didn't stop it from getting behind us. Goalie needs to make a save on that shot. Didn't make a save on that shot. Like, so many breakdowns that you cannot allow to have happen with your hockey team, and they did. So just brutal stuff from Edmonton there. And it's a couple tough games in a row, and it leads to the question that Connor's asking in the chat here. Do you think Knobloch gets fired? I still don't. I understand frustration and all of that, but my man can only do so much. He is not going to turn Evan Bouchard into Nick Lidstrom. He is not going to turn Darnell Nurse's contract A in half, or B, turn him into an elite level defender. So again, I view it now as I have always viewed it out in Edmonton. This is a roster construction problem. This is not a well-built hockey team. it was another night where if it wasn't McDavid, if it wasn't Draisaitl, it wasn't dangerous. I guess Kapanen does score the goal there. But like just if it wasn't those two guys or a power play, there was nothing happening against a Flames team that traded their number one defenseman a little bit ago. They have like Kevin Ball and Zach Whitecloud are balling out, and they are doing everything that you would want them to do. They are also a decent third pair defense on a Stanley Cup contending hockey team. That's where the Flames are at right now. And Edmonton couldn't get a sniff against some of those guys. Like they look outgunned against a team that's not outgunning anybody. So I don't put this on Knoblauch. Could he be fired? I mean, yes, right? Like they're in a desperate situation right now. They have a couple of years to try to win with Connor McDavid. So anything you could throw at the wall, I can see them desperately trying to do that. I still think Knoblauch's a pretty solid coach. I don't think coaching is the problem. I don't think coaching has been the problem in any of the games that they lost to the Florida Panthers in the Cup final or anything. Like I think he is fine. I don't think he's being given the best roster to go out there and try to compete for a championship with. What bets have they made for bottom six forwards in the past, say, 5 years that have worked for them? Derek Ryan, and I'm stumped. And the problem is, Connor, is that when they make those bets and they work, those cats leave, right? Because like McLeod in the playoffs, I think it worked. Fogle playoffs, I think it worked. Perry in the playoffs, begrudgingly, I'll say it worked. Like some of those worked, and then all of those dudes left. And so you're right, like the gambles they've made the last two off seasons to try to fix this depth scoring issue that this team has had for a long time. It's Trent Frederick on a gigantic contract, term-wise, not dollar-wise, but still, he's not living up to the 3.5 that he's getting right now. And you got 8 more years of that thing going on. Andrew Mangiapane, perpetually on the trade block and not great. Like, Kapanen and Podkolzin have been some pretty good finds. They're also on your second line, helping out with Draisaitl. Like, so they have taken a couple of shots. And you're right, like Derek Ryan kind of worked out for them. But anytime one really does end up working, they end up leaving and they can't backfill with anything. Like there's just, it has been a horribly mismanaged team for a really long time, with the exception of getting some draft picks that were pretty good. And like the Ekholm trade, I'm being shitty now. The Ekholm trade was a good one. I was going to start listing things off. That's kind of it. But like bringing in Hyman, that worked. But yeah, like there's been a lot of swing and miss in the game of the Edmonton Oilers, and you can't have that when you have the best player in the world for a really long time, and have had this issue for so long. And it would be one thing, Connor, if they kind of sacrificed that, but they addressed the other stuff, right? Like, we're not going to work on depth scoring because we have 2 of the 4 best players in the NHL, probably 2 of the 3 best players in the NHL, maybe at times 2 of the 2 best players in the NHL on our team. So we're going to just let them do the scoring thing. Let's lock in on the defense. Let's lock in on the goaltending. But they haven't done that. Like if they get anything that works, again, it's out. Like the Ekholm trade worked. That is one of the better trades that have been made over the last decade in the National Hockey League to help turn a team around and solidify something. But after that, they get their heads caved in. They haven't addressed that. The goaltending has perpetually been a problem, and it still is now. And there's no way of fixing that one. So I guess they get a pass on it. But they're not addressing any of the other holes that they have, while also allowing other ones to be created. And again, they're second in the Pacific, and they could win the division, and they could go to the Stanley Cup for a 3rd year in a row, because that's just how good McDavid and Draisaitl are. But if they had any help at all, this team is absolute juggernaut, and we're probably talking about going for a 3rd cup in a row for them. A couple more here in the chat. Toxic, my favorite day will be when McDavid leaves the Oilers without any cups. It's a realistic possibility. And they have no one to blame but themselves, right? Because, like, he was on a pretty big contract before, and now he is all of a sudden on the team friendliest deal, like in the NHL for sure right now, and maybe ever. It's that or McKinnon's when he was at like $5 million and winning a Stanley Cup with that team. Like those are the best contracts that have ever existed in the National Hockey League that aren't entry level deals. You're getting him on a massive discount for what he could be worth out on the open market. you have to be able to fill it. And maybe this year is a bit of like a quote unquote gap year for them because next year the cap's going up. Yes, like Draisaitl extension is huge, but McDavid's isn't. And so at least you get a little bit of room to play with. But man, oh man, oh man, I just don't see it. I don't see where a lot of the better is coming from unless like Savoy really hits, if Podkolzin stays this guy. But again, now we're still talking about like first and second line. And then you run a fourth line out there and they get buried by Lomberg. So yeah, not great out there. Connor, okay, you can say Knobloch is a solid coach, but do you think he gets fired? If he gets fired, teams will line up to hire him. I don't, which is an insane thing to say considering he's been to 2 cup finals. I think he would, like, lining up to hire him, maybe not. I don't think that, like, when he gets fired, I don't think there's going to be massive blog posts in Calgary about how, well, fire Ryan Huska now to bring in Knobloch. That one I will grant you. He is not that, which you would assume he would be given the resume and all of those things. But I do think that, like, you see Rick Bowness getting hired immediately in Columbus, right? Like there would be an opportunity for him, I think, to go out and get something. Like if the Kings end up, and they made a move, we'll talk about that in a second here. If the Kings end up firing their guy, like he would at least be in a position for that. So I think he would at least be in the next cycle, but would he be best name available? No, he would not be. So I get that there is a point there. I guess if you are looking for some way that you can improve something, there are, like, Gallant or whatever, better coach out there that you could get. DeBoer, I think, right? So there are options, but I don't think that is enough to get this team where they need to get to because of the overall issue with how the roster is set up with this team. So yeah, it's a tough spot for them to be in, but not a lot of people are shedding tears for that organization right now. That's for sure. The other big news, I guess, coming out of this one from a Flames standpoint is that was the last game of the season for Jonathan Huberdeau as he's undergoing hip surgery and he's done for the season. This is the time to do stuff like this, right? Like the team is not going to be competitive. He has had a frustrating season. So if you have something that needs to get dealt with, deal with it. I think this makes a lot of sense for him. Get the body fully right and ready and come back next year and try to hit the ground running. Or whenever he is available to come back, try to do that and really get this thing going. I think this makes a ton of sense. Again, it wasn't really working. From a Flame standpoint now, it opens up a roster spot, which I think is interesting. And I think it gives them a little bit of flexibility. Like LTIR, it's all gotten a little confusing now, but if you put him on there, all of a sudden this team, not that they were right up against the cap anyway, but it gives you a lot more room if you want to try to be the team that weaponizes cap space, right? Now that takes away, depending on what you do, but that takes away one of those roster spot openings that I was just talking about that could be interesting. But if there is a team that's right up against the cap and has a contract they kind of want to get out of, yeah, we'll take that on for a year. We're fine doing that. And you're going to have to give us something, but we're fine taking on a big contract to kind of help you out, but you got to help us out too. It gives them a little bit more breathing room potentially to do that. But I think the more intriguing aspect of it for the Flames is what it could open up roster-wise. Right now, he had been playing with Green and Frost up until recently. Anyway, I haven't had to write the lines out in a couple of days. But I think in the immediate, and we don't have an immediate, it's 3 weeks now between games as the Olympic break is here. But I would assume, like, coming back, Coleman will be ready by then. So he probably just slots back in. There's probably some mixing and matching. I've talked about this before. I don't know what you do with Coleman when he comes back, because Sharangovich, Backlund, and Coronado has been great. Coronado has looked really good. We talked about Sharangovich on the hockey video game stream the other day. He's getting more noticeable and getting into the action a little bit more. So that's what you want from whoever is playing with Backlund. So I think you have to kind of like weigh that a little bit with Coleman, but also we're trying to get Coleman's trade value up a little bit. So I don't mind him playing back in a familiar spot instead of, well, let's see if he can get the most out of Frost and Gritting now. And then he's not as effective and you lower the trade value. So in terms of just like straight a forward spot necessary, I think he kind of plops back into there, which does help because I had thought, even though like he has been great, he wouldn't have earned this demotion. I kind of thought Grideen was the one to go just because he was the easiest one to send down. He has been very good, but let him go keep dominating at the AHL level and do that and then bring him back into this role. Like he doesn't need to be part of the cycle through on the fourth line, anything. Now with Huberdeau gone, he probably stays up for the rest of the season. And that kind of helps that out. And now it creates another opening if Coleman gets moved, if Kadri gets moved. I think Cairns deserves a bit of a longer look here, especially if Nazem Kadri gets traded, opening up a spot at center. I would throw Cairns right into there and just see what happens with that. And Coleman, I've said for a bit, I want Stromgren with this team. I think that would kind of be the best option for me if another top six slot has opened up. Again, just to see where they fit. I hate that the NHL kind of limits roster moves post-trade deadline with sending guys up, sending guys down. I think this is a time, especially for teams like Calgary, where you want to see some of these young guys. You want to get some of that excitement in and get those opportunities. And teams are very creative with working around it, so it's probably fine. But I hate any rules that really limit player movement, and that certainly is one of them, the way they've kind of set that up there. So I think what this does is it locks in Grideen long-term this season on the Flames. And if the moves happen that we think are going to happen, then it gives another opportunity here, and it opens the door for the Flames to get a little bit creative. So it sucks that we're talking about an injury in glowing positive terms, but that's kind of where it's at right now with Jonathan Huberdeau and the Calgary Flames. But for Flames fans out there, who would you want to see called up? Like, those are the ones at the top of my wish list. Who would you want to see make their way onto this team, given that now another top six role has opened up with the Flames? Let me know in the chat, or if you're watching after, let me know in the comments. We have, again, Connor D. If he coached any other team to 2 cup finals in 2 years, he would be a major candidate in any job. But McDry carries that team so much that no one will ever credit the coach for success. You're 100% right. You know, like, I think John Cooper has established he is a good coach, but he doesn't necessarily get all of that credit because he's coaching a stacked Lightning team and then Hockey Canada and all of that. And I am not one, like, turned out awful dude, but Mike Babcock, when he was going to the Leafs, it's like, oh, well, anyone could have coached those all-star teams. It's like, well, you still have to, you know, like you still have to be able to put the right guys in the right spots. Now, again, bad dude, but I think he didn't get, from some anyway, I thought some of the criticism was a little, I was going to say he didn't get the credit. Like, he coached Team Canada a bunch and all that, so he did okay. But there are some times where, like, you coach a star player and say, oh, well, what are they doing really? Just give it to McDavid and let them roll. There's more that they have to do. And I think with this team, he kind of has to coach his ass off to try to get everything working with the limited roster that they have behind 2 of the best players in the National Hockey League. So I think some intrigue there with what could be done at coaching. Again, I don't think the coaching change is necessary out in Edmonton at this particular time, but I'd be interested to hear what Oilers fans think about that right now